So in mentioning this equal mindedness, we have to also bear in mind that transitory existence is overcome, even here, by those whose mind rests on equality. The next stanza. And Brahman is flawless and is the same in all. Therefore, they are established in Brahman. So two things are being considered. One is that Maya is on the one side, as it were, Brahman is on the other side, but these are not different. Because Maya is compared to the snake in motion, and Brahman is compared to the snake at rest. These are not contradictory positions. But when the snake is at rest, it seems to be lifeless. But as soon as it moves, it seems to have life, but as evaluated from our point of view. A person who has this all-round knowledge will not make any distinction between the two. They'll register in motion, the world. At rest, Brahman. And so how to know that there is no blemish in the knower of Brahman is a good question. And so it's explained in the next stanza. Na prahasyet priyam prapya, no divichet prapaya cha priyam, stira buddhi asammunto brahmavid brahmane stitaha. Established in Brahman with firm understanding, with no delusion, the knower of Brahman rejoices not getting what is pleasant and grieves not getting what is unpleasant. Playing the game nicely. So if somebody who realizes this, and you see on the board, I went into this great detail on Sunday, will live as if there was an actor on a stage, me being the actor. I fully engage in the drama. But when I see its ephemeral nature, then what can I do? I can't take it seriously. I laugh at it. But other considerations have to be made. What is my part? What is the role I am playing with that knowledge? What example will I set others? How will I determine my behavior in this part? How will I play the part well? Will I relegate all emotions to one side, or will I play the part and simulate and take part in the simulated world that others take as serious and permanent? All our evaluations take place from the waking world. But from a dream point of view, everything is evaluated from the dream. And from a dreamless sleep, only a peace reigns. Which one of these states of consciousness will I take seriously? I'll take the observer seriously. This is the only component, as it were, that remains steady and doesn't change. Stays as a knower, thinker, witness in one, observing all the events. Now, if I'm able to be free, that means I'm able to shift between every one of these things. Then don't be surprised to see me in a certain state in one moment, another state in the next. We are only monolithic. We only operate in one area. That's the difficulty. That's the difference. But somebody who has this freedom will operate in all the available areas and none. So the delights that are contact-born also are truly the wombs of pain. That's another aspect here. But in answer to the question, established in Brahman with firm understanding and with no delusion, the knower of Brahman rejoices, not getting what is pleasant, and grieves not getting what is unpleasant. Right from the start, understanding that maybe a person, through yogic insight, which his brother also had in the case of Ramakrishna, we can see, oh, this person's life will be like this. Their role in the drama will be like this. In that way, you play. What remains in the man whose mind, lust and greed are entirely eliminated is only the bliss of Brahman beams in him. And with that contact of bliss, spontaneously it arrives on the outside, as it were, as joy. Can't suppress it. So a joyful nature is seen. Such a person's face will always beam with joy. There will always be a delightful, benign smile on that person's face. They will approach life in a very different way. They won't take it as seriously as the so-called normal person, beset and impacted directly by all the events and difficulties of the world, produced by the consciousness being steered outside through the senses to the objects, which give us all the difficulties. For a moment, can I not, in a systematic way, stay that process and take consciousness, which is my birthright, and stand steadily as a witness, knower, thinker, and one? Some entity that has no attachment to all these other states of consciousness and all their events within it. So how does a person look then? What are the characteristics of one who is established in Brahman, not just visiting, but established at home, not wavering, or when wavering, just choosing to journey? So it's said in the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad that we covered on Sunday, how this immortal self, this entity, seems to, like some kind of bird, leave its nest and go to another area and come back and rest, going between two realms, waking and sleep, just flying with a sense of freedom, as it were, because colloquially we say the sun moves. The sun's chariot rode across the sky. This is just an expression. We talk about sunset. Do we really think the sun is doing anything? We talk about sunrise. Do we really think somebody's pushing the sun up? We don't, but we use it as an expression. Bhayasparshavs ashat atma vidyat atmani yet sukham sa brahma yoga yuktatma sukham akshaya ashnuti. With the self detached from the external contacts, he realizes the self, meaning the attention. Detached from the external contacts, he realizes the bliss in the self, which is inherently there. Devoted as he is to meditation of Brahman, devoted, not just when you feel like it, or, devoid of the excuses, but habitually delighting in the process of meditation, the process of meeting your beloved and remaining there delightfully. He enjoys imperishable bliss. Naturally, Krishna makes this comment, there are signs of the awakened ones, those that have got into Atma Buddha. Those blessed ones are like the mythological Chakravaka bird, which, even when parched with the thirst to the point of death, does not alight on earth full of water. It's a myth. But seeks to slake it with rainwater only if and when available up in the sky. The God intoxicated ones revel only in him and in nothing else. Is the reverse of what most people think is a quality of life. What is your lifestyle? If you take a normal household and see what constitutes today as a normal lifestyle way of living. Let's say a television, you remove that. Let's say a radio, remove that. Let's say a telephone, remove that. Let's say today, I don't know, children play video games, remove that. Everything that you think is a contributory factor toward the high lifestyle that you've chosen, you remove it. See what's left. So devoid of all those pleasures, this person finds their delight only in the self that we know overall, cosmically, as Brahman. So God intoxicated ones revel only in him and nothing else. But why are the sense pleasures shunned by an enlightened? Surely that's unreasonable. Surely we should have some level of pleasure, some food that you like. Why should you be a joy killer about everything? Surely we deserve something. We work hard. We deserve something. Yehi samsparsaja bhoga dukkha yonyaya evate ajanta vanta konteya nati shoramati buddha. The delights that are contact born are truly the wounds of pain. Contact born, all the delights are because the sense organs make a contact with the object. The eye lights on something, the ear lights on something, the skin is impacted by something. That contact with all the senses are deliberately on the outside of the skin. It's our way of measuring and relating to the world outside, like every other organic creature. Even a bacteria will feel on its outer layer, on its outer membrane, the impact of fluid around and be sensitive enough to pick up nutrients. They have a system whereby that comes through the wall of the membrane, gets absorbed, gets used, certainly energy transfer is made, oxidation occurs, and so on, all because it's sensitive to its environment. Why? Because it has the contact between the environment, the contact between the object and the organ is always there. And we don't interpret that as in any way painful, but it is painful. And so all these systems that emphasize this, Buddhism, for example, will emphasize this. Seeing that, all these things which are normally delightful. When the Buddha went back after his revelation, going out in his chariot, seeing all these events, an old person, a sick person, a dying person, a renunciant, and so on, went back and became very morose. Seeing his mood and seeing his royal status as a prince, seeing his mood, what happened? Delightful pleasures came to him to lift him up. Dancing girls and so on, but he was so distracted, they got tired. How long will we dance? They were so tired, they fell down on the floor and started sleeping. He rallied round eventually, saw what previously were delightful, beautiful objects, all with snoring, mouths open, saliva, like this, disheveled clothes and so on. So saw them in a different light, you see. It's all very well getting married and saying, for better or worse and all that. But you see, after the honeymoon period, you realize, oh, I see. Actually, when all this paint from, whatever it's made from, pig pigment and so on is taken off, what will remain there? Oh, it's not exactly what I bought into. So there has to be a greater feeling. There has to be a greater insight. Beyond the physical, there has to be an understanding of the personality. But don't leave it there, because that creates a problem for us too. We don't get on with everybody. So after a while, you discover the two types of people. One walks very, very calmly and slowly, hardly making any noise. The other person is much more active and vigorous and stomps around everywhere. It's just their natural way of walking. Surely there'll be friction between these two people. There'll be at least some mild irritation between them, because we didn't have the penetrating vision that understood, Lord, there you are. And you are the same here, you are the same there, you are the same everywhere. So all these sense pleasures are shunned by the enlightened, not out of a sense of artificiality, but in comparison to what the bliss is within. There is absolutely no comparison. Supposing that you say, my greatest joy is eating, another person say, my greatest joy is going to a concert or a museum or studying or learning about science or something like that, or my joy is in the aesthetics. Then a little higher, my joy is in the bliss of the absolute self that remains inside. So the delights that are contact born are truly the wombs of pain. They have, says Sri Krishna to Arjuna, a beginning and an end. So they may be delightful in the middle, but no wise man rejoices in them. But who are these wise people? Most people, they are now foolish. They take the evaluation of the pleasures and don't understand that tremendous joys are there, that is tremendous bliss is there. Like comparing some kind of paper mache jewel to something of real value. If people ever sighted a venomous cobra, They used to supplicate, "O deity of deadliness, may you hide away your head from our sight and present the powerless tail alone to our view," says Sri Ramakrishna. It's good to recoil in this manner from sense objects that drag down the mind. Instead of falling prey to them and then praying for redemption, it's better to keep aloof from them. But you may say, but this is a tall order, since we're so much engrossed in the pleasures. Yes, but set the ideal and work progressively to it if you have to. There are two ways to give up drugs. One is to go cold turkey. All of a sudden you do it. The other one is just to do it progressively. Same thing, like smoking cigarettes, they say. After a certain period of time, all that nicotine is gone from the body and the physical craving is gone. Now the psychological craving has to be dealt with. In this same way, everybody has this craving for something, and every individual must answer what is the one which is emphasized more than the others, and what is the antidote. The antidote is not to suppress it. The antidote is turn the mind and attention to something that is more profound, more lasting, deeper, more blissful, more joyful. So what measures ought one to adopt to do away with desire is a legitimate question. And the clue is given in this stanza, Shatnoti haiva yaha sodam prag sharira vimokshanat. Kama krodon bhavam vegam sayukta sa sukchi naraha. So, he who is able to resist the impulse of desire and anger, because anger is associated with desire, a thwarted desire arrives in anger, ranging from mild frustration to an outburst. Some reaction will be there. Even here, before he quits this body, if he's able to master this, then he is a yogi. He is a happy man. See, this question is, how can we be happy? This world seems to be full of misery, so everybody wants to be happy. I always say, nobody ever sits down and gives me a goal. Swami, I want to be unhappy. All right, so we're all on the same page. We all want to be happy. Where does this happiness lie? Now, there's one particular section of the Taittiriya Upanishad which gives us some ratings of bliss. And that's well worth studying. We can see progressively what we rate to be happiness. Mark you, happiness would be, if it's enduring, would be the prize. Everything else, if it makes me happy for a moment, two things occur. One is, it creates for me an unsatisfactory habit that says, when this happiness is gone, and when another desire for it arises, I repeat the same formula that is due to the contact of the sense organs with the objects. So, there are happy people around, but these are people who have made a decision in the first place that all these so-called things that make everybody happy and make me, I used to be happy doing those things also, they're very shallow and hollow. And while it may give me a spurt of joy, it certainly doesn't last. And so there's a continuing sense of unhappiness and dissatisfaction. Desire or its counterpart, anger, is bound to make its appearance as long as life lasts in the body, because the contact with the senses is there and consciousness is flowing through the sense organs to the objects. They're capable of raising their hoods even while a person is at the point of death, funnily enough. The person dying. What is your dying wish? Oh, a nice cool glass of lemonade. Imagine. What a funny thing. The dying person, throat is parched. They can hardly speak, not even the energy to speak. They indicate, give me something, some water or something like that. You give them water. Is it enough? No. Water is not enough. Since I feel that I'm departing from this body, why don't I have my last cool lemonade? You see, when a person's on death row, what do they offer him? A last meal. I don't know why.
I think I'd ask for my second last meal.
See, there's not even a mention of, do you have a last wish? Yes, may I have unlimited wishes? Nothing like that. A person says, you're entitled to the last meal, what will it be? I say, well, since it's the last meal, let me make a special meal. But no discernment about, well, actually, it's not going to contribute toward the health of the body or the vigor of the body, number one. So it's all because of taste and habit and so on and so forth. What's the point of it? It's a wasted thing. So it's a funny thing that we have. So desire fostered in the mind expresses itself in the physique by directing the senses covetously on their objects. There is then a longing for them in the visible in the countenance. See, a desire, thirst is there, it's seen. And then when it's not arriving, there's an anger coming. In other words, we behave as we do when we were so small, seeing that other children are playing on something and the parents not having time, they have to go home. The child then is distraught. And a child that is undisciplined or very young will throw themselves on the ground in a tantrum, thinking that this will persuade the parent to change their mind. And in adulthood, same thing arises. Lust and greed have immersed people in sin. If you behold women as the embodiments of the Divine Mother, the very special period of time we went through last week, where we had the opportunity of seeing every woman as a manifestation of the divine, a special occasion that stimulated that in us, deliberately and consciously. If you do that, you will escape from the snares of lust and its aftermath misery. God vision is impossible until desire is vanquished. Imagine now if you see the whole universe as nothing more than the expression of nature in feminine form, because Prakriti, in Sanskrit for nature, is specifically put into maternal form, feminine form, in Mother Nature. We say Mother Earth, Mother Nature. Every culture seems to put it in the feminine category. Will nature not look after us? Is nature not truly our mother? What is nature? We have the expression from Brahma to a clump of grass. In other words, everything, every part of the universe is nothing more than this dressed up. See the autumn period where the leaves are turning, this beautiful color, various shades. Is it not appropriate for us to join our hands together, make a salutation? Oh, Mother, how beautiful you are in your new dress. See, Samhain is coming up. We call it Samhain, isn't it?
Sound.
Huh? Samhain.
Samhain.
Thank you for the correction. Samhain is coming up. See? So what is that? It is a festival, one of four in the Irish Celtic culture, which says that it marks the end of summer and the beginning of winter, in between two solstices. So it's an agriculture season because the harvest is over now. So the harvest is over, that we'll celebrate. So we can see how this Mother Nature is operating in our favor, and how every culture decides that we will honor this in some way or another and celebrate it in some way or another. So these two things, lust and greed, this is Sri Ramakrishna's language. Lust and greed, anger is a consequence of a thwarted desire. So lust, greed, and anger, these are the gateways of hell, as to if you want to put it this way. And how to conquer them, not directly, but indirectly, by revaluing things, looking at the world in a very different way, looking at things like birth, life, and death in a very different way. If you see with a great yogic insight a person's life from birth to their death, and see the adventure that was there, and see it was a worthwhile life, all in an array before you. Where is the time? Where is the past, the present, and the future in it? The people with no understanding say, what happened before God? As if, from God's point of view, there's a past, present, and future as we see it. And science tells us that in the universal scheme of things, there's no thing necessarily as linear forward time. So to whom is the bliss of Brahman possible? So we need a clarification on this. Yo nyashuko dararamas tata darajoti eva yaha Sa yogi brahma nirvanam brahma bhutodi gacchati. This Brahma nirvana we normally attribute to Buddhistic language. But here we see, this is not the only place, this term nirvana put there. But we add Brahma nirvanam to it. So he whose happiness is within, whose delight is within, whose illumination is within only, that yogi becomes Brahman and attains the beatitude of Brahman. And the rule in meditation, whatever you meditate on, it comes to you. Meditating on Brahman, we not only get close to Brahman, but we become one with that. That's the idea. We gain the beatitude of Brahman. Ramakrishna puts it this way: knowledge is not for him who is attached to the world. Enlightenment and bliss ensue in direct proportion to disentanglement with the sense organs. Labante Brahma nirvanam rashaya kshina kalamashaha Chinadvaidha yadatmanaha sarva bhuta hite rataha. Again, with sins destroyed, doubts, dualities removed, minds disciplined, being delighted in the welfare of all beings, the rishis attain this Brahman nirvana, this beatitude of Brahman. And so these rishis, their excellence is further elucidated. Kama, krodha, viyuktanam, yatinam, yatachetashaham, abhito brahman nirvanam vartate viditartunaham. So again, same thing. This Brahman nirvanam is described, this beatitude of Brahman is both here and hereafter for those sannyasis, those who give up the fruits of activities and have this equilibrium of mind, who have shed lust and anger, subdued their minds and realized the self. What is sublimation? Nyas, that's the technique. So sannyas is total sublimation. Nyas being sublimation, then sannyasa is total sublimation, literally. The mind has to be vanquished, see, for the attainment of this Brahma Nirvana or beatitude. And so the process is then as follows. And the next chapter is an expansion and commentary on this almost last stanza. It requires careful thinking about and studying. Sparshan krita bahi bahyams chakshuschaiva bhruvahu pranapanu samau krita nashabhyayantarachiranahu. Shutting out external objects, fixing the gaze between the eyebrows, as it were. I'll introduce as it were, because when the eyes are declutched, when the eyelids are half closed and the gaze is fixed, it looks as if the gaze is between the eyebrows, equalizing the outward and inward breath, moving in the nostrils. That means regulating prana and apana. The sage who has controlled the senses, the mind and the intellect, who is sorely pursuing freedom. Why are you meditating? See, there are so many people who say, oh, meditation, that's good. You teach meditation, we like that. That's mindfulness, isn't it? They confuse. No, mindfulness and all of that, and what they interpret as meditation, is a kind of relaxation, or at best, an exercise in concentration. But what is it for? Meditation is only for this purpose of moksha, freedom. Who casts away desire, fear, and anger, he truly is liberated. How can we meditate? Well, we have to shut out external objects. Then we have to fix our gaze in a neutral way. Then we have to make sure that the nervous system is not in any way disturbing us. And then being regulating the body in this way. The sage, that is the meditator, who has controlled the senses, who's controlled the mind, where all the emotions rule, who has controlled the intellect, who is sorely pursuing freedom, liberation, who has cast away desire, fear, and anger. You can't do it while sitting. You have to do it prior to that, dealing with things in situ. He truly is free, is liberated. The breath exhaled is called prana, inhale is called apana. These two things are there. That's what is meant by equalizing the breath. And the subject of pranayama is grossly misunderstood. I'm conducting these yoga teacher training classes once a week. And my question is, what is prana? And many people think and say, oh, it's some kind of thing in the air. When you breathe it in, it's good for you. See, it's not a substance like that. It's a thing that makes something move. The mind gets disturbed very easily. And so some regulatory, scientific, systematic process has to be used. Now, directing the mind incessantly towards Ishvara, the Lord of the universe. Doing this, how should the Muni, or the silent one, the meditator, behold that entity? The answer comes. Bhoktaram yajna pasam sarvaloka maheshwaram sodham sarva bhutanam nyatva mam shanti rachati. Having no need, says the Lord, as the Lord of all sacrifices and all spiritual efforts and asceticisms, as the ruler of all the worlds, he makes no bones about it. As the friend of all beings, he attains peace. So the friend of all beings, that is, it's all in our favor, appealing to him to want to do us any disservice. That's a comforting thing. The friend to all beings. What is the one who is a friend to all beings? It's the Lord. He attains peace. See, it's through the grace of the Lord that the earnest souls take to the very performance of yajnas. If you took up spiritual practice, it's only because God's grace behind you as your friend, moving you forward. So this is the conclusion then of the 5th chapter, the Bhagavad Gita. Next week we start on the 6th chapter, which is a continuation of this passage and expands on this technical process of meditation. Iti Srimad Bhagavad Gita Upanishatsu Brahma Vidyayam Yoga Shastre Shri Krishna Arjuna Samvari Samyas Yogo Nama Panchamo Dhyaya. In the Upanishad of this Bhagavad Gita, the knowledge of Brahman, the supreme science of yoga, and the dialogue between Sri Krishna and Arjuna. This is the 5th discourse, designated Sannyas Yoga.